Hey everybody, it's James here from goodguitarist.com, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you how to play Yesterday by the Beatles. First I'm going to show you a simple version, just chords with a picking pattern, and then afterwards we'll show you all the stuff you can add to it to make it a bit more intermediate and sound like the original recording. Now before we get started, the biggest thing to note about this song is the fact that it's played originally on a guitar which is tuned down by one whole step, and that's what I did with this guitar right here. When I play a G chord, it sounds a lot lower than on this guitar. For the sake of this lesson, because it's a huge hassle retuning guitars and everything, we're going to do it in standard tuning, just so you don't have to retune your guitar. But if you are interested in playing along with the original recording afterwards and making it sound exactly like it, all you have to do is tune your strings to D, G, C, F, A, D. And if you want to follow along with the same chart that I'm using to make this lesson, I've put it up on my Patreon, and there's also a link for that down below. So the song starts off with a G chord, and we have to play it like this, with these two fingers at the top. You can try it the other way. It just sounds not like Yesterday. So let's do it this way. And before we move on and learn all the chords, let's try the picking, because it is really simple. We just pluck the thickest string with our thumb, and then upstrokes with our first finger. And just aim for the top couple strings. You'll hit this one as well, and that's all you want. Top three strings, but I recommend just aiming for these two, and you'll accidentally hit this one on purpose. And the pattern's just thumb, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just try that a few times just to get comfortable. Try it slow, try it fast. Try it really soft. Try it really loud. You know, do what it takes to get acquainted with this. And if you find that you have trouble with fingerstyle stuff in general, I just released a premium course covering all the, beginner to advanced fingerstyle stuff. There's a link to it down below if you're interested in checking it out and seeing if it can help you improve your fingerstyle ability. Anyways, once we have that G chord down with our pattern, we can move on to the next chord shape, which is F sharp minor. And we can play it like this. So 1, 2, 3, and then the second fret of the thickest string. That's the easy way to play it. You could also try it as a bar chord. That's the way that I play it because it's faster than putting down 4 fingers once you're used to it. But either way, we have an F sharp minor chord. We pluck it the same way. And then we go to B7. And B7, transitioning from that easy F sharp minor, is quite simple. You just take off your first finger, and then you just move those two. You just move them up, and you make that B7. Just get used to that if you're not used to it, because that can be a really tricky spot in this tune. If you're using the bar chord, I trust you know how to work out your chord shapes. If you're already playing the bar chord, you can just practice back and forth, get that switch. And for B7, we have to pluck the A string. That's where our root is. Our thumb is following the roots. Then we go to an E minor chord, and it's a bit different than usual. Instead of playing the whole thing, we're only going to be pressing down the second fret of the D string, because that's our root. And later we'll turn this into a cool bass line thing. But for now, let's just do our strumming pattern or picking pattern 2 times on this E minor. Then we go to a C chord. And on the recording, it sounds like C major 7, but I like to use C. And our root is on the A string. Then we have a D chord. And then it's back home, back to G. One more. Then it's an E minor 7 chord. And this one can be tricky to do it right. We're just playing an E minor there, and then we add the 7 with our pinky, and we want to kind of bend our pinky down, or just, I guess, move our whole elbow back so that the side of our pinky mutes the high E string. We actually want this to be the highest note. So even though I'm plucking all of these, that one's muted, and then I'm getting those two. Then there's an A, and then C to G. And for this, we're going to change the way we pick. We're going to go, so we're actually doing it together, the thumb and the finger at the same time. You could just strum, but in my opinion, that changes the tone of your rhythm a bit too much. You know, going from like, it just thickens it up too much. I prefer. And that, I think, is what he's doing on the recording. So anyways, once we get to this C chord, we just go like this. Do a squeeze, thumb and finger at the same time. And then we switch to G, thumb and finger at the same time. And then the finger. So on the G chord. Together, finger. And then together, finger, finger. So this last couple measures here, you know, all you have to think about is doing your thumb and fingers together, and then when you're just doing your finger, and that's it. So that's the A section. Now that we've gotten acquainted with it, let's play through the whole thing nice and slow. And don't worry if you're not ready yet. You can always just watch me do this, then you can rewind the tape and we can do it together afterwards. Let's try this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So from there, we would repeat that entire section and end it a little bit differently. When we get to that C, G at the end, the second time it goes like this. So the first measure was the same, C, G, and now here we're going to go fingers, thumb, and then open strings, just right there. So on our G chord, fingers, thumb, open, and that's just him switching chords. You know, when you play it up to speed, it's like. Anyways, that's the second ending that'll get us into the B section, which goes like this. A lot of it is exactly the same. It starts off. And then there's like a little counterpoint thing. That's where you have two melodies and kind of going against each other. So we start off with the same thing we were doing for that E minor shape. You know, second fret of the D string. I have my thumb on that string and I'm plucking the highest string with my middle finger. Together. And then we press the second fret of the highest string. Open D string. Then we move this finger up to the third fret. First finger on the third fret of the A string. Then we just move that shape down one fret. And we get the high open string. So just the counterpoint part, 3, 4. So try that out a few times. We'll work a bit more on it throughout the rest of the lesson, but just take a second, get acquainted with it. After that, we go to a D7 chord, but here our bass note is going to be the A string. So this is actually D7 over A. And then we go to a regular D for our bass note. And then G. More of this. Same thing as before. So aside from that counterpoint part, this is all just the same components, same chords, same everything from the first section. Let's play through it in a simple way, just like we did, nice and slow, starting out on F sharp minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at this point, you have all the tools you need to play through the song in a simple way. Well, now I want to add all those extra little bits that, make this song a masterpiece. We're just going to go through the song from start to finish and just work through all the motions. So we start off on our G chord, we do our pattern a few times just for an intro. Then once the vocals kick in, we do our pattern once. And then for the next measure, we're going to add something. On the very last beat, we're going to pluck the open thickest string. So here's what we have so far. And that sets us up to switch into F sharp minor, which I'm going to do the bar chord for now. And we do our pattern normally on this, and normally on our B chord. Now we get to the E minor. We're going to do it one time here, and then we go like this. So I started off just thumb, finger, then I removed this and I play the open D string, thumb, finger. We get to our C chord, D7, just normal here. And now here is another one of those differences. Instead of going straight up to a G chord, we're going to go to G sus4, like this. Kind of sucks having to play this chord, but if you want to sound like the original recording, this is what he's doing. So we came just from D7, we left our first finger down, we get these two fingers down, and we go. So the pattern's normal, thumb, finger, 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 but we're changing chords partway through. We go thumb, finger, and then we release to a regular G chord. One more time. And then here we're going to go back to our normal G, thumb, finger, and then we press the second fret of the thickest string. So I remove my middle finger, press the second fret, and that leads us into our E minor 7 and A. So once again, after we play C and D, we go. And everything else is the same. So that's all the additions to this part. I'm going to play through them now, super duper slowly. Once again, you're welcome to play along or to simply observe and then try it again yourself afterwards. You can see all the stuff you need is at the top, and I have that chart on Patreon. Here we go, starting off on G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we'll do the same thing for the B section. There's only one, it's at the very end of it when we go from D7 to G. So, long for yesterday, and here we can go. And that's not on the original recording. That's just something that I think is cool to add to it. It addresses some of those cello and viola parts. And all we're doing there, coming out of that D chord. So we do a squeeze. You know, we play our G chord and we do thumb and finger at the same time, and then we just go. So 3, 1, 0. It's a bit of a stretch, and it's totally unnecessary, but it's something that, you know, I just like to add to it. You're welcome to do it if you're up for the challenge. And the only thing we haven't touched on yet is the very ending. We'll be playing through the A section, and we'll be at this point right here. And then we'll do it again. We'll tag the ending, but when we do it the second time, it goes like this. So it's pretty much the same thing, except on our E minor chord, we go. We pluck the bass note as the last movement. A chord's the same. And then for the C chord, instead of getting the top string, I'm kind of aiming here. And then on this G, my ring finger's lifted, and I hammer with it. It's called a grace note, because it's a really short note there. Super like nitpicky detail, but it's something I did notice when I was listening to the recording. I thought I'd show you guys. Anyways, now that we have all these components, let's practice putting this thing together super duper slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last verse, let's pretend it's the last one. So that's how you play Yesterday by Sir Paul McCartney. Now, if you need any extra help, I have a bunch of resources, my free ebook, my complete beginner's course to get all the basic chords, strumming, developing your rhythm, my finger picking course, which you can take as a beginner, my Barre Chords course, a whole bunch of stuff, all designed to help you get better at songs exactly like this. I have the chart for this up on my Patreon. So if you need any of that, just look down below and you will find it. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.